Hey everyone, holiday greetings and welcome to the Movie Buffs podcast. I am your host, Steven Campos, also known as Scuba Steve. Nickname could also be Scuba. The reason why I'm giving this information is because here with me today is one of the harshest movie critics that I know. He is also a good friend, my friend Steven Talamantes.
Hey everyone.
Kind of sounded like I was trying to quote Obi-Wan. Like, your father was the harshest movie critic in all the galaxy.
And Damalis was more like Spider-Man. Hey everyone.
Hey everyone. And that voice that you just heard right now, that was my younger brother, Dave.
Hello there.
You can follow him on Letterboxd. He is under the name The Daily Bugle. So, today we have a great show for you guys today. We're going to be talking about The Rise of Skywalker. This is a movie that has, believe it or not, further divided the fandom. We all thought The Last Jedi did that, but apparently people are now praising The Last Jedi more now than they did 2 years ago, or even a couple months ago. I have no idea why. We're going to dive into that, into discussion. Do you guys have anything to say about that?
Well, I have a lot to say about that, but until we get into it.
We'll get into it. Okay, well, today's topic is going to be a review about The Rise of Skywalker and our thoughts on it. We're going to give a non-spoiler review, and then we're going to let you guys know when we're going to start getting into the details. So if you haven't seen it, and you do plan to watch it, because I know a lot of people out there are just not having it with this movie, you can cut there. We'll let you know when to cut, and you can come back to this episode right after you watch it if you'd like. But before we get into The Rise of Skywalker, a couple movie news and updates. So Birds of Prey, DC's film, which we're not even sure, is that part of the DC extended universe?
I think it's part of their new reboot of kind of like Suicide Squad 2 with James Gunn. Is I think it's still following what the first one did, but it's now, we're heading into a new direction. But I don't think it's part of Joker, the one with Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, I don't think it's part of that either.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, well, because the reason why I ask is because the news that just came out recently is that Birds of Prey received an R rating, which I'm not entirely sure why. Based on the trailer, I've only seen it twice. The first time I watched it, I was not impressed by it. I thought that it looked like a very unnecessary film. I just rewatched it, and it looked better than it did the first time. I'm more open to it, but I don't see how... It doesn't look like it's a story that needs to be rated R. To me, at least, the film kind of looked like it had the style of the old Tim Burton 1980s Batman films.
I did not get that at all.
Where'd
you get that?
I got that
I
feel.
don't know what trailer you watched.
Yeah, I mean, have you seen,
I got that feel.
Tim Burton ones? They're
seen...
nothing but dark, black and white.
No, I
gray.
mean, the Tim Burton
This one was
ones,
very colorful.
the Tim Burton films kind of looked like, an homage to old comic book characters and everything, very, 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 very comic book like ever since X-Men and on out from the early 2000s, these superhero films have been trying to feel more realistic. But this one looks like it's trying to go back to that Batman 1980s feel.
Okay, I think it's more I agree with you there, but I think it's more of just them doing an 80s vibe.
Theme?
Yeah,
Well,
kind of like what Guardians of the Galaxy did.
Everything's been 80s so far.
Yeah, I mean, that's the trend right now, is that, everything must be 80s.
Must be.
But the thing here is I don't see why this should be rated R. Like Joker and Logan, those deserve that R rating because, there was a story to tell, and in order to tell the story properly, you needed that no restriction, to the story thing. But this, I mean, if it's going to be rated R in the sense that Venom was going to be rated R...
That's what I was going to bring up. Whether or not, is it official that this movie will be rated R, or is that just what people want to hear? Because Venom, they were from the beginning, oh yeah, this is going to be R rating. And then eventually it just, oh no, it's PG-13.
Well,
and
I read that it was official. I mean, if you go to IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, it says the rating and it says what it's rated R for.
What's it? Do you know?
I'm not quoting it directly, but it says it's rated R for...
Do you want me to check?
Do you want to check? Yeah, okay, we're going to fact check this right now, this early in the game.
Well, the thing that I think it's probably going to be rated R for violence. I mean, judging from the trailer,
from
we saw somebody got, shot. There's blood, being shot out and everything.
I'm sure Harley Quinn's going to be cussing a lot.
Yeah, it does sound like it, And it seems like it's very much...
Okay, Dave?
Birds of Prey is rated R for strong violence and language throughout, and some sexual and drug material.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Drug material makes sense.
Yeah.
But so I mean, this is a very bold move for DC, I think, because you can't go from this universe that they've been setting up, and then all of a sudden make the next installment to that universe rated R, unless it is part of the reboot that you're talking about.
Well, it's also like I'm not trying to like compare like Marvel with DC, but like what Marvel does with the whole phases, like phase 1, 2, 3, and 4, and like this is what we're doing in the first one, the second one, the third one. Does DC even like have something like that? Like it just seems like they're just trying to put out movies and not really say like, oh, this is one collection or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like this is one saga or whatever you want to say. It just feels like, oh, we have Man of Steel, and it's like, well, let's do a Batman movie. Just mix both of them, and that didn't work in my opinion. Let's do Wonder Woman, which I'm on the minority that I don't really like.
Wonder Woman was great.
Wonder Woman, I don't know.
I liked Wonder Woman. I thought it was awesome.
No, I can see the appeal to it, and it is better than the other two, but at the same time, I'm like, I didn't really like it. And then you have Justice League, which is, say what you will about it, but now it seems like they're just ignoring so many things, because here you have Harley Quinn saying, I'm done with the Joker and everything.
So they're connected then. Like, she's talking about Jared Leto's Joker.
Yeah.
So I mean, the thing that I want to know is, going into this movie, do I just forget everything that happened in the first Suicide Squad movie? And because my prediction is that this movie is going to... Because I heard that James Gunn's The Suicide Squad is also going to be rated R. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if this, just forget everything you saw from the previous Suicide Squad film. This is the first movie that will lead into James Gunn's new reboot of Suicide Squad. And the reason why I'm calling it reboot is because I heard Slipknot's coming back. So he died. Oh. Spoilers. Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the band.
Me too.
I was like, wait, what?
Slipknot.
Slipknot, isn't that his name? That's his name. That's his name? Okay.
Yeah.
Slipknot's coming back. And then Idris Elba is going to be Deadshot. So that's,
What, is he? Because I thought he was going to play like a tiger character or something like that.
No, that's Cats.
Oh. No, I thought you were being
forbidden at the table.
That's a different thing there going on.
No, but I thought Will Smith still had Deadshot under his name.
I don't think so. Okay, we're gonna fact check this as well. I'm pretty sure it's Idris Elba. Which I am excited for Suicide Squad 2. Mm-hmm. Or Suicide Squad, The Suicide Squad. What are they calling? I don't even know what they're calling it.
I think it's gonna be called The
Suicide Squad. James Gunn said he's having a lot of fun with it. He has the most creative freedom he's ever had in this film. And
I wonder what that says about him working with Marvel.
Nothing but great things. Nothing but great things. I love Marvel.
Oh, of course he did. No, the thing with me though is if they're starting to do it, it seems like it's gonna be different. Like they're not sticking with PG-13 or anything. They want to do rated R because they want to go all out with it. But does that mean like with Logan, how you brought it up, that was like a character study as well, or Joker? One of the reasons why it had to be rated R is because it needed to tell a story of these characters, and Birds of Prey doesn't seem like it's gonna be telling character stories. It seems like it's going to be very much just having fun, being violent.
That's action. The question that I have. Does this mean that DC is now changing their audience demographic to an older audience? Because you can't have an installment, like a series of movies, and have them be PG-13 where kids can watch them, and then have the next installment be rated R, and then continue with PG-13 after that. Mm-hmm. You can't do that, because that's you're gonna lose half of your audience there. Because, well, I mean, I know kids watch rated R movies now, but whether it'll appear on the box office or not, we're not certain. Mm-hmm. And David, did you get that fact check?
Yeah, Idris Elba is not listed as, like, he's not locked in for a certain character, but he is in the cast.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it doesn't say anything about Deadshot?
It doesn't say that he's Deadshot, it just says he's definitely in the movie.
Okay.
And it says that, like, Captain Boomerang is coming back.
Yeah, with the same actor, so...
And then the dude who played Rick Flag. Mm-hmm. And everything.
Will Smith is not in the class. In the cast. Sorry, my bad.
In the class.
Well, I don't know. Based on the trailer, like I said, at first I didn't think much of it. Rewatched it. It looks pretty good. I'm willing to give it a second chance. But I guess we won't know much until the second trailer comes. Well, is this the second trailer?
I would say the teaser.
The first one was a teaser. The one that came out right before It Chapter 2.
Uh-huh.
And then I feel this is trailer 1.
I feel like didn't they have a trailer for the Game Awards, if I'm not wrong?
For Birds of Prey?
I think so, right? Did you watch the
I
Game
did not. I
Awards?
don't
No,
watch
I
that.
didn't watch that.
Okay.
We're movie buffs.
Oh, okay.
No.
I'm sorry.
We're not gamers.
I mean, I am, but I didn't bother with that because I'm kind of like, you can't really say what's the best game, you know. That's Stranding.
Yeah, it varies a lot. I mean, are you gonna base it off of story? Or are you gonna base it off of
Yeah, that's the whole
replayability?
thing,
Yeah, that's
So-
why. Same with movies. But if
No,
there is a trailer,
No,
Talk about
movies
this.
is a different form of art.
no, yeah, I
But,
agree. But at the same time, it's like they're both like, you know, if it's good because of this, it's good because of that. But sticking with Birds of Prey, that was the first time I saw that trailer, and I loved it. I was like, oh, I'm into this. Like I
You
love
love
how,
this is a historic moment. He doesn't like anything.
That's a lie. No, but I thought it looked fun. It looked like, because one thing I want out of a movie, like if you're gonna do like, oh, we're just having a fun action movie, then make it fun. There's a lot of movies.
Remember this when we started talking about Rise of Skywalker. He just
yeah.
wants a fun action movie.
No, yeah, that's what I want, and that's what it seems like this movie is giving you. It doesn't seem like it's gonna be like, oh, we're gonna go deep with it, and we're gonna try and make you care for these characters and cry about them. You know, it just seems like we're just gonna have fun, and that's all we're trying to do. We're not trying to do anything more than that.
This movie seems like it's trying not to be like as story driven as the other movies. More just like, hey, it's fun adventures with Harley Quinn. She's doing this with her friends.
Yeah, you can very much tell that Margot Robbie is having like a lot of fun with this character.
Yeah,
I think more fun than with Suicide Squad. You know?
Oh yeah, because Suicide Squad I think went for that more gritty look and feel to it as well.
Yeah, I didn't know. It didn't know what it wanted to be.
It looked
Yeah,
like Suicide
honestly.
Squad was trying to be on the more Dark Knight tone type of thing, and this one looks more. I mean, I hate to compare, but it looks like it's trying to be a little bit more like the Guardians feel, in the sense of, oh, these are just misfits having fun, and they're doing bad things while they're having fun.
They are villains, and it makes sense for them to do like bad things. I don't get how, you know. So if they're able to, you know, keep that with like, oh, these are, and I think, well, I don't know if they're all bad, you know. The one person I'm looking forward to the most is Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I love her. She's the one who
I love.
He
Side
has to
note.
clarify it, you know.
I think she's
case
amazing.
no
So
one
that's
knew.
one that I'm like, yes, I can't wait to see this. So I'm excited for it, honestly.
Well, I mean, whether my opinion on the trailer changed or not after the second viewing, I was probably still gonna watch it anyway, because I'm one of those nerds that anything comic book comes out, I have to watch it.
No, yeah, but now are you like more like?
I am more excited. Yes.
Oh, okay. David, what about you? What do you think?
Well, I am excited to see it, but I'm not really like anticipating it. It's not like, oh my god, it's almost out. Get ready. Get your popcorn buckets.
Same. I agree. Like, if I don't watch it premiere night, I won't be butthurt
Yeah,
or anything.
pretty much.
I'll be like, if I watch it Saturday or Sunday or even the following week, I'd be okay. Like, I
Even,
wouldn't
the
be
following
dying.
Month.
Like up?
Like the following month.
I think that's a
Oh
bit
no,
too
that's
much.
a bit
Yeah.
too much.
I would
Yeah.
probably watch it like opening day.
Probably opening weekend, but it wouldn't matter to me that much if it was opening day or not. For me.
Oh.
Where like Endgame, like if I didn't watch it premiere night, I was gonna like die and freak out. But so on that note, we're gonna transition to Star Wars Episode 9: The Rise of Skywalker.
Your destiny. The Force will be with you.
Always.
All right, so Star Wars Episode 9: The Rise of Skywalker. This is going to be our non-spoiler section of the review. We'll let you know when we're getting into details. So if you haven't seen it, you can stop, and then you can come back to it later. So initial thoughts, initial reactions. Remember, this is the non-spoiler.
Yeah.
Shall I start, or do any of you want to go? I'm very curious to hear what you have to say.
You can go first.
I can go first? Okay. Well, first of all, I want to say that this is probably going to be a biased review coming from my side. I'm going to admit it, because I've been a huge Star Wars fan since I was probably like 4 years old when I was first introduced to A New Hope. And I've loved it since then. Been watching the movies countless times. I've literally probably seen The Phantom Menace probably 100 times. I know a lot of people exaggerate, like, oh, I've seen it hundreds of times. But I honestly think I've seen Phantom Menace 100 times. So I know I'm rambling, so I'm just gonna get to it. I thought Rise of Skywalker was great. It was fantastic. I had such a great time with it. I felt emotion with it. I mean, this could be in part because I did watch 1 through 8, the week before I saw Episode 9, so everything was still fresh. And what George Lucas was trying to accomplish with the original 6, where Star Wars is not 6 movies, it's just one big story that had to be divided into 6 movies. That's kind of how I saw this. So it was one large story that had a beautiful ending. I had a lot of fun with it. There was tons of surprises in the film, things that I didn't see coming. I laughed. I shed a tear. I'm not gonna lie. There was moments that had me shedding tears. It was just fantastic. I had a great time with it. It was fun. The adventures were fun. Which is what a Star Wars movie is supposed to be. A Star Wars movie is meant to have an audience have its audience have a great time and inspire people. And I think this movie is doing just that. And as for the people who say like, it's fan service, it has too many nods to the original movies. Yes, I see exactly what they mean, and if you don't like it for that, I kind of understand, but I don't feel that those nods get in the way of the storytelling of what's going on in this film. So yeah, that's my review. I loved it. I thought it was great. Anyone who aligns with my interests or has had a history with Star Wars the way that I have had, you'll probably like this film.
David, you want to go or you want me to go?
He's preparing. If you guys can't see him, but he's probably gonna start putting his hands like this, about to like putting together to roast and be like, "One tarnation."
I guess I'll go before Dalamantis goes because I don't have a lot to say, and I feel like Dalamantis has a lot prepared.
All right.
So I just want to say I did like Rise of Skywalker. I am gonna notice that it did have a lot of big flaws for me personally. The ending was not really like a Return of the Jedi ending where it's all like, because Return of the Jedi is like a great conclusion. It's one of my favorite endings of all time, and this one felt more like just the ending of a movie, barely a trilogy really. So that's about it. I have a lot of other flaws I want to talk about, but since it's a non-spoiler review, I don't want to.
Yeah, we'll get into
even give a hint to it. So I just want to say I probably gave it like a 7 out of 10.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I never gave my review.
Well,
I guess I could save it to the end.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Okay.
He's about to roast.
No, I'm not, because I actually ended up enjoying this movie quite a lot.
What? Okay. What? Okay. This is huge, everyone. He refused. He didn't go watch this movie with me. He's usually like my movie buddy. Like whenever there's a movie I want to watch, unless it's Marvel, he'll usually go. Mm-hmm. And he was like, "No, man. I'm not gonna watch this movie. It looks stupid. It looks." Okay, elaborate.
Well, no,
okay.
So like the same as you, like I did grow up on Star Wars and everything, and like the thing that I kind of realized without spoiling too much and everything is that these movies are all the same, really, and not in the way of like, oh, it's formulaic or whatever like that. I mean like the characters follow the same tropes and everything, and like what Empire Strikes Back did is the same thing that The Last Jedi did. I've been noticing that, and I think that like this whole leading up to the release of The Rise of Skywalker has been crazy. Has been like everyone saying, the critics saying it's terrible, it's not good, and then people now saying that The Last Jedi is like the best one and that's what it should have gone and everything. It's like everything that people were saying 2 years ago is now different. They're saying the opposite. And but one thing I noticed, because I watched all of them as well leading up to Rise of Skywalker, and I realized I need to make my own opinion. I can't just say, oh, well, the critics didn't like it, so therefore I don't need to watch it or whatever. But I did end up going to see it with an open mind, and I ended up really enjoying it. I did also cry. I'm not gonna lie. Like, we can't say at what part, but I did end up shedding like a tear or two or three. Mm-hmm. It did get to me.
4.
Yeah, it did get to me. I thought I did a really good job. Putting everything together. I know some people might say, no, it just went back to doing this, and it was retconning, and no, it was damage control and everything, and yeah.
Well, I mean, it was damage control. There was damage control in
but
there.
I feel like you can say the same thing about the original trilogy as well, and the prequels, because there's a lot of things that are inconsistent with both of them.
True.
You know,
That's
like
true.
if we really go back to A New Hope, you have Obi-Wan telling Luke, Darth Vader is the person who killed your dad, and he did everything else. And then in Empire Strikes Back, it's like, oh no, he is your dad. And then Return of the Jedi, he asks him like, hey, you told me about my father was dead and everything, and Obi-Wan just says like, yeah, I couldn't tell you. You know, it's a very, you know, even they don't know where the story was going, and they were doing twists and everything. Even the way they treated some of the characters. Look at.
By the way, spoilers for the previous Star Wars movies, but I mean, I think it's safe
If you
to say,
haven't seen
yeah.
them-
If you, what are you
Those
doing
came out
here
like
if you haven't seen them?
1977. Like,
Yeah, that was A New Hope. A New Hope came out in 1977. These are all like 80s and 70s films, you know? But like, you know, one of the big things that people didn't like in The Last Jedi was Luke's, the way that he was portrayed. You know, being very like against the Force and not caring for the Jedi and everything. Totally different from when we saw him before, last in Return of the Jedi. But I always use this. It's like, oh, well, if you take the prequels, if you watch those first, Yoda is very much like a Jedi master. And then you don't see him again until Empire Strikes Back. And when you do see him, he's like this kooky, funny, weird, fighting R2-D2 for food. He's not the same as he was back then. And then throughout the movie, you see like the change in him. And that's exactly what they did with Luke in The Last Jedi. So I'm like, well, it's almost like the same thing. There's really nothing to hate here. You know, it's just, I think people are starting to become very, what's the word? Like entitled into like, no, it has to be like this because this is the way that I want it. And then when they don't get that, they get mad. And it's not about like a bad story, whether, because you can really say, you know, the original did this, and so did the prequels, and then people might argue, no, but that's not the same. And it's like, well, it is, if you think about it. So going with that in mind, right when I saw Rise of Skywalker, I was like, oh, I can totally see what they're doing. And they're doing nods to Return of the Jedi. They're, you know, some people would say damage control, fixing things. To me, it felt like, oh, they progressed it very nicely. You know, they were able to do something different.
You know, when I saw the tomato score before I saw the movie, it didn't affect me at all because recently Star Wars fans, and I'm not trying to offend anyone, but Star Wars fans don't know what they want anymore.
I agree.
Force Awakens comes out and they're like, oh, it was too nostalgic. So then they give them something with new, bolder decisions in Last Jedi, and they hated Last Jedi.
Yeah.
So then they're going back to the nostalgia, and they're like, why don't you make bold decisions? So, you know, it's like they keep changing their minds about what they want.
It's the same thing when like George Lucas had the rights to him and everything. They were praising him for Star Wars, and then they were blaming him for ruining it.
And now they want him back.
Now they want him back. It's like they don't know what they really want, you know?
But I feel that's every generation because, you know, I was going to say boomers.
Oh, God.
You know, the people who grew up with the original trilogy watched the prequels and were like, no, they suck, you know? And now our generation that grew up with the prequels, a lot of us are saying, well, not me, I'm excluding myself from these people, but they're saying that this new trilogy just completely sucks. So I think it's just a generation thing. They're not realizing that Star Wars has a legacy to tell each new generation. So like I'm sure if you ask kids, which is ultimately who these movies are made for, are you enjoying the new movies? Everyone's gonna say, oh heck yeah, we love Rey, we love Kylo Ren, which I think that's important. It's inspiring this new generation of movie watchers and kids, and you know, Disney is giving them what Lucas gave us. So I think Star Wars is still doing its job.
I agree with that very much, surprisingly enough. But yeah, I mean, you even hear it from Lucas and even Alec Guinness, the actor who portrayed Obi-Wan Kenobi and everything. That's his name, right?
Yeah, Alec Guinness.
And he even said like, oh, these are movies for children. You know, they're not. I think it's the fans that saw it, and they, you know, they probably saw it at a young age, grew up with it, became fans, started buying the toys for them, which is, it's nothing new. You know, everything that people are saying, Disney is just trying to sell toys, they're just trying to sell merchandise and everything. It's like, well, they did it back then too. You know, I remember not even being able to go to Walmart without seeing, you know, one Luke Skywalker toy from Return of the Jedi, and this was way before Disney even got the rights for him.
Way back, even in the 80s, George Lucas only kept the rights to the Star Wars merchandise, and he got so much money off of that merchandise that he funded himself to make Empire Strikes Back. So Empire Strikes Back is kind of like its own indie film. Because because George Lucas funded it himself with the money he got from the merchandise alone. So he's not doing anything different than what Disney's doing.
No, yeah, I think it's just people who I seriously think it's people who think they understand what's going on, but they really don't.
Well, I mean, okay, I kind of want to rephrase what I just said, because Disney, I do feel they do add certain characters to become merchandisable. For example, that new droid, the Conehead droid in this movie.
Dio.
Dio. Yeah. I feel like he's just to sell merchandise. Same thing with the Porgs. They serve no purpose. They're just...
Or in The Last Jedi, BB-9E. That no one even knows about.
Yeah. The
like the black one.
The Sith one, right?
BB-8 and everything. Yeah. Well, that was like...
Even Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda's great. I love Baby Yoda. Okay, I'm not hating on Baby Yoda. But after the success that Baby Yoda's had with this season, if Jon Favreau had any plans to make Baby Yoda older in season 2, that's out the window now. Because Disney's going to be like, heck no, this is bringing us money.
Let's keep him as a baby.
Yeah.
You know? But I feel like they keep changing characters throughout not with The Mandalorian. I'm talking about the sequels and everything. From The Force Awakens, that very much was, we need to play it safe. We need to somehow get these fans who are already fans established and everything. We need to get them in here, but we also need to get new fans. How can we do that? Well, let's make these characters likable. Let's make these characters, this way and everything.
Also, at this point, if you're still listening, this has turned more into a discussion than a review. We apologize for that. We go off on many tangents.
Yeah, we do.
So hopefully you're still entertained.
But, and then The Last Jedi, they do something different. They change the way you thought these characters were supposed to be. With Snoke, Kylo Ren, with Rey, with Luke. They're trying to expand the story even further, or rather expand the characters, because the story is very much still the same. It's the characters that get expanded. And then with the Rise of Skywalker, that's like return to story, when now they're like, okay, now that you got these characters, we're going to develop them even further, but we're also going to keep going with the story and end it. And I think that's why people have been saying that one of the problems with this film is pacing, which I kind of agree, but at the same time, I don't know. I mean, I didn't have any problems with it, I know there are some people, they just say, oh, I didn't like the pacing. Well, why? Like, what could have made it better? And it just seems like they're repeating the same thing over and over again. They're jumping on the bandwagon.
I see what you mean. Did you get to say your review? Or did you let him go first?
7 out of 10.
He did.
Oh yeah, let me just say what I'm going to give it. I also give it a 7 out of 10.
Awesome.
I really did enjoy it.
I don't do out of 10. I do out of 5. So I give it 4 out of 5. So would that make it like an 8 out of 10 on your rating system? About 8?
8 or 9 out of 10, yeah.
No, yeah.
Okay. I think 4.5 would be more like a 9 out of 10.
I would say like a 5 is like a 9 or a 10. A 4 is an 8 or a 7.
Okay.
Yeah,
so mine was 4 out of 5, which means I'm basically on line with you guys then.
No, yeah. I think everyone who likes this film can agree, like, yeah, there are some problems with it, but it's still enjoyable. And
I do want to make that clear. It's not perfect. I liked it, but I can see that it's not perfect. I'm not blinding myself from it. But just because there are some inconsistencies and some maybe plot holes, that doesn't make it bad. Because I'm sure if you dig hard enough, any movie, even the movies that are 100% Rotten Tomatoes or critically acclaimed and loved classics, if you dig deep, you can find plot holes and inconsistencies. So
no, yeah, definitely.
You can't be that type of person.
Mm-mm.
So at this point, I think we're going to start getting into spoilers. So this is our big spoiler warning. If you haven't seen Rise of Skywalker, and if you have any interest in watching it, stop listening now, come back later, because we're about to get into it.
I cannot believe that Rey's a Kenobi.
What?
No, that's not true.
No, Rey's a Stark.
Oh yeah, Rey's a Stark.
Rey's a Stark.
No.
Tony gave birth to Rey.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Ned from Game of Thrones.
Ned Stark.
Oh no.
Stark.
I just said that so anyone who was still watching it, but like.
Yeah, what are you doing here? Go watch it.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Okay.
Well, the main thing here, Rey is now a Skywalker. She is not a Skywalker the way Luke and Anakin are, but she is a Skywalker. Like she, adopted.
How did you feel about that? I still have mixed feelings about her about her being a Skywalker?
I didn't mind it at all. I thought it was really well done, and I feel like that's the route it was always meant to take. Like everyone, even from Force Awakens, was like, "Oh, Rey, that's a Skywalker. She's a Skywalker."
Mm-hmm.
Even people saw it. So at the end, when she decides, "Oh yeah, my name is Rey Skywalker,"
But
I don't know how people wouldn't like it. 'Cause
Skywalker, that's such an important name.
Yeah.
Like,
But,
you know,
I mean-
it carries that heaviness, that legacy, and
Of what,
you can't
though?
just decide. I guess she was granted the permission because she saw Luke and Leia, and they
Okay,
like,
but how do you? It's not like Luke and Leia were like, it's okay. you
no,
can
but
say
they
the
they
name.
did this nod and they smiled. And
I want to
so
know
I
about
think
like what you mean by like, oh, the Skywalker name is important.
it's important. Like,
But like in how? Like in what
you
way?
can't just adopt that name.
To the audience,
But
the
what does
word
it-
Skywalker means so much. the
But what
name.
does it mean? Because you had like a villain and you had a hero.
You had the
both
chosen
names.
one and the hero. Anakin's still the chosen one. You guys can fight me on that. Anakin will forever be the chosen one. Even
Okay.
even in the film, when Rey started hearing all these voices, you hear Anakin say, "Bring balance as I did." So
Well, I think that's because he was the. I don't think he did anything.
what do you mean he didn't
What
do
do you
anything?
mean?
He killed like all the Jedi.
No, he did. So he brought balance. Like if we
He
go
brought
back
balance,
to
and then he killed all the Sith.
No,
well,
no.
at least he thought he killed all the Sith.
Yeah, I was like, if you look.
Yeah,
But
he
what-
did kill all the Sith, but then Disney was like, "No, you didn't."
Darth Maul came back. Well, no,
Oh,
he was
okay, that too.
yeah, and Solo.
Well, that's all.
Spoiler
That's
review
all.
for Solo.
That's all Disney. I mean, we're talking about the core Star Wars. Anakin's the chosen one, and to me, even watching these Disney films, Anakin's still the chosen one.
I agree.
I don't.
You think Luke's the chosen one?
I don't think there is a chosen.
People are saying it's Rey now.
How can Rey be the chosen
Well, because she's straight up the balance. Her bloodline is evil, but she's a good person. So she's like this embodiment of balance.
She has a yellow lightsaber now too, which
Which,
amazing.
yeah.
Which is
loved
only used so you can go to Galaxy's Edge and build a yellow lightsaber.
Well, no, there's a whole thing about apparently you can like purify a red kyber crystal and it turns yellow if you purify it, and that's why people have theories of like, oh, she purified Kylo Ren's, which I don't.
Oh, that'd be
I
cool.
I don't agree with because I kind of like the idea of like Kylo Ren dying and Ben Solo finally like being resurrected. I like that way better than Kylo Ren still being alive somewhere. But yeah.
Well, also, okay, I'm gonna get into this because I've had arguments with people about this, and I have my interpretation, and I think it's a beautiful interpretation, and it adds to the movie. But I want to ask for your opinion first.
Okay.
Why did Leia die trying to reach Ben?
I think because she was already kind of weak, and the same way that like Luke died in the Last Jedi, like it took all his power away from him. Or whether or not like everyone has a theory that he chose to die, like he committed suicide in some way. Maybe Leia did the same thing, but it felt more like she was already kind of weak, and when she did it, it took all her power that it just killed
But
her.
just to reach Ben?
Yeah.
I think so. So I'm gonna get into my interpretation of that. I feel that Leia knew that Ben was being haunted by what he did to his father, and Han Solo was not a Jedi, so he doesn't have the Force. So Leia used all her energy to Force project Han, so he can have so Ben can have closure with him.
That's actually a pretty cool theory, but I think like it kind of doesn't work considering that like Han tells him like I'm a memory.
That's what I
No,
was telling
Han
you.
does not say I'm a memory. Ben says you're just a memory.
memory.
He's in disbelief that he's seen his father.
Yeah.
You can't have closure with a memory.
But
You
that's
can't. So
what
I
they
think
did.
I guess,
I think
yeah.
him saying like, "Oh, you're just a memory." It's more like he's in disbelief. He's like, "This isn't happening. You're just a memory." But I don't think he meant it literally.
So you think it was Leia like
Force projecting Han, and then that took all of her energy.
But if I'm not wrong, by that point they had already put like the sheet over Leia.
Yeah, but you don't know if Han was being like conjured up after Leia died. Like, yeah, Leia sent the signal.
Well, remember, she didn't like die until like later in the movie when she like disappeared.
Yeah, when
and
the curtain.
it
That's
went down.
Yeah.
The blanket or whatever.
True.
It was. So maybe she was in a coma or something like that.
True, that's
I
true.
don't know. It could be. I mean, I'm not saying your theory is wrong, but I don't know. I mean, I think I would have to watch the movie again. I only watched it once.
I've seen it twice.
I've seen it once.
Yeah, so that's why. You probably know more. You caught more things, but yeah.
I thought it was. I mean, if you do find things against it, don't tell me, because that's a beautiful theory. I want to keep it. I just want to keep it for myself.
Yeah, because that sounds awesome. But
it sounds great. I love it.
I mean,
really don't think that's what they were going for.
Yeah, who knows? Because there's like, for example, like you also have Finn, and he keeps trying to tell something to Rey.
Which I also have the answer to that.
Well, it seems like everyone said like he kept trying to, oh, I love you. Like he wanted to express his love.
That's what they want you to think.
But then Abrams, JJ, he apparently confirmed it, saying like he just wanted to tell her that he was force sensitive. Apparently.
I don't think that's
Like
it.
he has the Force. Yeah.
Oh, but Abrams said that?
Yeah, Abrams
I mean, so it must be true then, because
he wrote it.
He wrote it, yeah.
Half, like, co-wrote it with Chris Terrio.
Well, see, my interpretation was Finn was going to finally tell Rey about her parents. He didn't want her to die without knowing who her parents were.
Really, I doubt Finn would do that. Like, hey, by the way, you're a Palpatine.
Well, because he knows. I mean, in all of Force Awakens, Rey is like my family,
Mm-hmm.
So she, Finn knows how important that is to her, and he didn't want her to die because they thought they were gonna die when they were sinking in the sand.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't want her to die with wondering, and for me, that was later proven when Finn's freaking out because Rey's going to the Death Star through the water. And he's freaking out, and Poe's like, oh, well, we need to fix the ship. Let's go fix the ship. And Finn's like, there's no time. You don't know what she's going up against. Leia and I do. Which makes me to believe that Leia told Finn, like, hey, but you hang out with her a lot. Be careful with that one. Look what she's doing.
Leia tell Finn? Leia and Finn don't have, like, a connection like Leia and Rey do, or... Yeah, it just seems very awkward.
Finn came back to the Resistance as a hero for leaving the First Order, and Leia's the general, so of course she's gonna have some trust in him. And also she sees that Finn and Rey are, like, really, really close. Mm-hmm. So Leia's probably like, hey, watch over her, Leia probably knows Finn was Force sensitive, too.
Maybe that, too. But I like that theory, that he knew what, about the Emperor and everything, and her real parents. It makes sense, But
that's why he didn't want her to go alone. Because he was scared. Because knowing that Rey was so tied to her desire to find her family... And then realizing that the Emperor is her family, Finn was probably wanting to be there the entire time to keep Rey from having that desire of wanting her family, consume her into saying, well, I mean, if you're the only family I got, then I guess I'll join you.
And then we don't really know kind of going on that, but trying to use Kylo Ren as the example. You have Kylo Ren who, once he found out who his grandfather was, Darth Vader, he went towards that. Like, oh, I want to be like Darth Vader. Like, that's who I want to be. For all we know, he was having those ideas, like, way before The Force Awakens happened. And that's why they sent him to go train with Luke, to bring him to the light side. But Luke saw that, like, no, he's already past everything. Like, he's going to do bad things, and I need to stop him. And he couldn't. And when he wakes up and he sees Luke, attempting to kill him and everything... That's why I think cemented him to be like, okay, I'm not, this is the Jedi. I'm not gonna go with him, And I think that's why when.
Well, I feel that's true what you're saying, that maybe he was having these thoughts about his grandfather way before, but.
But then, like, if you take it with Rey, and they know like her grandfather is Palpatine, that if there might be that chance of, if she finds out that she's a Palpatine, she might go with him,
Yeah. Because of the family bond.
And that's what they didn't want. They didn't want another Kylo Ren situation.
And out of all the Resistance that's close to Rey, who can Leia trust to watch over her? It has to be Finn.
Yeah. And you can tell, what I really like is that Poe and Rey didn't get along. Like, even though they're all in the same boat, it's not like they argued with each other. They didn't really like each other. It was like, we were doing this while you're off training and everything, I really did enjoy that. So it makes sense why Leia chose Finn and not Poe,
To tell that. That's assuming that was it, because if Abrams says that it was,
to be like that he was Force sensitive.
That he was Force sensitive.
Why would Finn feel the need?
But yeah, I mean, in your dying moment, like, I'm Force sensitive.
Well, yeah, that's why I also don't get why. Well, I think that's why people from the Force Awakens, how he kind of was somewhat hitting on her. Finn on Rey. But then you see in this one, Rise of Skywalker, how it seems like maybe he does want to tell her like, oh, I do love you and everything, right? But I don't know. I don't really like that.
I know that wouldn't be my dying words to someone who, if I was in love with someone and they didn't know and we were about to die, that's not gonna be my dying words because because I'm not selfish. Because imagine her react. What if Rey didn't have the same feelings and she's just like she's gonna die awkward?
Yeah, it would be awkward.
Die awkward.
That's why I don't think like for like Rogue One at the ending when Cassian and the Jinn are just staring at like as the planet's about to be destroyed. Cassian doesn't go and like kiss her or something like that, you know. They just like hold each other and just wait until it happens.
Which I thought was beautiful because in Rogue One, Cassian and Jinn, there was no love connection there.
No, yeah.
They were just literally just held each other because they had nothing else to do but to wait and die. So
That was beautiful.
No, yeah. It reminds me of. I know a lot of people are not gonna like this, but Watchmen. I don't know if you guys have seen it. There's a part at the end when like something blows up and you have people just staring at this thing, and right when it blows up, like just people just start hugging each other. Whoever's next to them, like you see a young black man and some old white guy. They're just standing next to each other, and when they see the explosion, they just like hold each other right then and there. It's like an instinct that people have, and I think that's what worked. I don't think your first instinct is to like, oh, it's a girl, I'm gonna kiss her.
yeah, a lot of people are saying that Rey and Ben, their kiss was awkward, but I feel it would have been more awkward to have Jin and Cassian kiss because Ben and Rey, let's just forget everything on Instagram and Reddit about Reylo
And Tumblr and everything.
I mean, we're just talking pure story. They had a connection.
They did.
They really did have a connection. So that awkward kiss, I'm doing quotation marks because I realize you guys air quotes because you guys can't see me. I didn't think it was awkward. I felt like it she wanted Ben, but he was consumed by Kylo, and now that Ben was back, Rey was like, I can be with this person now.
This is who I want to be with Ben, and that's what she even tells him. Like, I wanted to take Ben's hand, not Kylo's. Like, that's very much a difference there, and I think people who still continue with the whole, oh, it's Kylo Ren, like the whole Reylo thing. It's Rey and Kylo.
Which, by the way, I'm gonna give credit to my sister for saying this because she just boggled my mind with this. If Ben had not died,
That makes sense.
hadn't died,
Not died.
had not died. Can you imagine how powerful their son would have been, son or daughter? The blood of a Skywalker and the blood of a Palpatine put together. Whoa. Let that sink in for a little
Well, I know
bit.
that a lot of people kind of also say like, oh, like it's a very stupid theory. But when he places her hand on her stomach, and he like brings her to life, people are like, oh, what if he got her pregnant too?
That's
like,
not how
exactly.
it works.
No.
I took health class. That's not how it happens.
Well, no, I mean, here's something: Palpatine can have kids. He does things with women. That's
Well, yeah, okay, but
Unless
I just want
it's
to know
like
if you
a-
look like the Chancellor or if you look like the Emperor.
what do you mean?
Like when he got laid.
Oh, imagine that.
Was-
No, I'm pretty sure he looked like the Emperor.
Oh, yeah,
well,
totally.
okay.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, look at Anakin. Anakin, there was no dad. It was only a woman. So maybe, Palpatine did something where he could get a woman pregnant without, I mean, midichlorians is still a thing here.
Well, yeah, but that, or you could also look at it this way. I forgot which YouTuber said it, but I got this from a YouTube reviewer. Okay, so whoever you are, I'm giving you credit. He said that when you're the most powerful person in the galaxy, you can basically have whoever you want.
That's true.
I mean, he was the emperor. He did rule the empire. I mean, it probably and and I'm not trying to like insinuate that he raped anyone. Women probably, threw themselves at him to be like, I want to be safe, as a safety thing. I'm gonna act friendly with the emperor so he doesn't kill me, so he doesn't hurt my family, so he doesn't do this. That could also be. I mean, obviously Disney's never going to reveal that.
No,
Because that's a very sensitive topic. and I probably should have used a better word than throw themselves, but they offered themselves.
Well, no, I mean, if
I don't
you
know.
think,
I don't know. I mean, the world is sensitive now. I'm careful
I mean,
with what I say, but you
it's
get the gist of what I'm trying to portray
it's the same thing though, because you also have people who are willing to work for him. You even had a Pride, the character. How when he's speaking to the Emperor, he's kind of like, "Oh, I still serve you like I did those past years." So he still has like loyal people. So I'm pretty sure like among those people, it doesn't matter what race you are, because you see Asian people in the Empire or the First Order. You see black people, you see white people. It's more of like who they are. So I'm pretty sure they have women who do like if he does say, "I want to create a Palpatine lineage or something."
Maybe it would have been an honor to have the Emperor's child.
Yeah, especially if you do think like, yeah, the Empire or the First Order are in the right. Like this is who should be, of course, to be willing to throw themselves at him, or to like offer themselves to say, yeah, I'm willing to help you start whatever you need to do. But then, of course, then you have his son, who he did have. That was like the father of Rey was Palpatine's son. So then the woman that he was with, obviously they didn't see eye to eye, as is possible, because we see how even though you have Han and Leia have a son, he still went to the dark side. You have two people, who are from the evil side, the dark side, and then she still comes out good, So I think it's like very interesting.
Well, I think that's like trying to touch on sort of like what I'm gonna go in my Broadway geekiness here, but what Hamilton's trying to touch on. It doesn't matter. Your background doesn't matter. It's what you do with your own life. You're in control of who you become.
No, I totally agree with that. And I think that's what the movie was about too, especially with her saying, "I'm a Skywalker." Even though she's a Palpatine, she doesn't want that. She decides, "Nope, I'm going to be a Skywalker." And I think the yellow lightsaber was a very good touch. The fact that she made it out of her staff is amazing too.
Yes, I agree on that note.
I mean, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, it is surprising to have to say, like, oh wow, I really did enjoy this movie. Because I was definitely one of those people who like hated this trilogy, and I hated everything.
Do you see the trilogy in a different light now?
I like them. I'm totally okay with them. Like, I am one of those people that I will say, yes, this is canon to episodes 4 through 6, and then episodes 1 through 3. Like, this is what is going to happen. I have no problems with this trilogy at all. And I think that people who do are the ones who are like, who think that they're entitled to have what they want,
Because, when I first watched the movie, you came up on my mind a lot. Because with everything that you were saying, like, when you were criticizing The Force Awakens back then,
yeah,
and you were saying, like, oh, so it's basically the Empire, but people role-playing as them, or I don't know what, and all these things. Just throw in the fact that Palpatine was pulling strings, and it kind of fixes, not all, but some of those plot holes.
No, yeah, as much as people want to say, like, oh, that doesn't make any sense, you bring him back Palpatine, that's just, like, fan pandering or whatever. It fits the story. It really goes back to, like, it was the Emperor's voice that Kylo Ren was hearing, And, of course, he chose Kylo Ren because he is Anakin's grandson. He's related to Anakin. He couldn't pick Luke or anything because they had already gone to the light side. So he had to pick someone new, someone fresh, if you will.
Also, I'd like to point out a YouTuber by the name of Nerd Soup. You guys should look him up. He has a video that was published about 2 years ago. Yeah, in 2017. Of Rey being a Palpatine. He had a theory about that 2 years ago, and at first when I heard like, oh, Palpatine's coming back, I thought to myself, oh well, that's JJ doing damage control because of they got rid of Snoke, so he's like, oh, Palpatine's gonna fulfill the role of Snoke. But after I watched this video by Nerd Soup, he really made me believe that actually probably was the plan all along, to have Palpatine come back and to have Rey be a Palpatine. You guys should check out the video. He goes into detail about something as subtle as even the music. Rey's theme and Palpatine's theme are almost equivalent. There's just a difference in notes in between, so like they speed it up. So there's that. The guy on NerdTube explains it a lot better. He also went in as deep as to explain and compare Palpatine's fighting style in Revenge of the Sith to Rey's fighting style and that they're identical. So that could totally, I that makes me believe that this was the plan from the start.
It probably was, and I mean, I have no problems with it either. I like the fact that she's a Palpatine, and even though some people might say like, "What? No, like that's not what I wanted." It's like, well,
what did you want?
Because I'm having the same arguments with my brother, because I'm realizing how like, this trilogy is not as bad as people are saying, and it's actually really good, and it does feel like, even though most people are going to say they didn't plan anything, well, George Lucas never even planned any of his stuff either.
True.
You know?
He started on episode 4.
But not even. He started, like, when that movie was released, it was just Star Wars. It wasn't A New Hope. True. It wasn't episode 4. It was just Star Wars. And when he made the second one, that's when Empire Strikes Back, that's when he started, like, thinking more and more. And then that's when he decided, oh, this is the middle trilogy. And then eventually, I'm going to make the prequels. And he didn't even know where it was going to go.
Which, I mean, isn't that any movie series?
I think, yeah.
I think the only ones who had a plan, I think, was Marvel. And they didn't even know how they were going to get there. They were just like, okay, we're going to get to Thanos.
No, yeah, I mean, you have Kevin Feige who even said, like, it wasn't until Logan that made him, like, decide, oh, we're going to kill off Tony Stark.
Yeah.
You know, so...
Spoilers.
Yeah. After we say that. But that's when I think that this movie was fine. I don't think it's as bad as people say it is. I do understand why the critics don't like it, because if they love The Last Jedi, which is giving you something new and not going...
Last Jedi's still my least favorite.
I like it.
I would say Solo's the least favorite.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm talking about
Solo.
the core Star Wars films, like 1 through 9.
Oh, well,
I mean, I rewatched it. It's good. You convinced me otherwise at one point, but when I rewatched it, and I think you can agree too, it's not as bad as we remember it.
No,
it's actually pretty.
I think
it's pretty good.
It's very much like when we were in the theater and I watched it the very first time. I hated it because I was like, "This is not my Luke. This is not my Leia. This is Snoke needed to be the new Emperor." Like I'm very much like, no, dude, like just go with it.
Yeah.
You know, like they're trying to do something new here, and when they do something new, it's almost like with Empire. They established that Luke's father is dead, and then in the next one, oh no, he's alive, and it's actually Darth Vader. And then in the 6th one, it's like, oh, well, Darth Vader is a Sith, and he's the most evil. He's with the dark side, and at the last minute, he goes to the light side, and people don't argue with that. With like, wait, why? But you're so evil. All of a sudden, it's because of this, or even with Anakin, it starts off very good, and then the second one, he kills the Sand People for what they did to his mother, and you think, oh, that's when he starts his, way to the dark side. But then it's not until the 3rd one that he just hears that Padme might die, and that's what makes him go to it. So it has nothing to do with his anger or whatever. It's
for me, Attack of the Clones, when he kills the Sand People, it's more like he's a hormonal teenager. That's how I took that. I didn't think of it as... This is where it starts.
Well, no, that's what some people, because he even says, like, I hate them. I killed the men, the women, the children, and everything, right?
Well, I mean...
And Yoda even says, like, hate leads to suffering, and that
it definitely plants the seed, but I don't think it's... Oh, that's it. He's Darth Vader now. Like, no.
No, he's not Darth Vader until Palpatine even tells him, like, Rise, you're Darth Vader, But that's what I mean, is, like, even then, it doesn't feel like there's a plan to it. It's just pretty much making it up as it goes along with both the originals and the prequels. And I feel like this film is these 3 films, the new ones, are very much making it up as they go along as well. But just because they are making it up doesn't mean that the other ones were planned 100% for sure. This was what's going to happen. I mean, you even have Mark Hamill in interviews talking about how, like, oh, Leia should end up with Luke and everything. They didn't know that they were going to be brother and sister,
Yeah.
So no one really knows where the movies are going to go. These movies didn't know where they were going to go either. But if there's, like, evidence to prove, like, oh, she was always a Palpatine, hey, that's always cool to know. But I don't think people should hate it just because it wasn't what they thought it was going to be.
Which, by the way, saying that Last Jedi is my least favorite Star Wars film does not make it bad at all. Because in my personal, humble opinion, I feel that all the Star Wars films are great. So even the weakest Star Wars film of the core 9, because Solo was not... We'll get to that later. Out of the core 9, saying that one of them is the weakest film doesn't mean it's bad, because they're all so great that the weakest is still, like, really, really great. I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, I also agree that Solo's the weakest one.
Oh, I do not think Solo is the weakest one. Rogue One.
What?
No, okay, Rogue One is...
That is a masterpiece, man.
Yes,
Oh my god, no, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No.
You need to rewatch it the same way you rewatch these other ones.
No, I've seen it like 6 times already.
You need to watch it another 6.
Yeah, Rogue One is... It feels like a Star Wars movie. Like, it feels like a Star Wars
For
movie.
Star
What is a
I
Star
can't
Wars movie,
emphasize. It just gives the vibe and the feeling.
though? Okay, now we're just going to a different direction.
Yeah.
We're gonna stay on.
Yeah, you know what? I think I'm gonna retitle this episode as a conversation about Star Wars,
Including episode 9.
including episode 9.
If I may add something to episode 9.
Turn this into your final thoughts.
Oh, my final thoughts. Some of the things I didn't like about the movie, I'm going to say really quick, is how they were using C-3PO as plot development. But I kind of see why, because if they didn't use him, like, to wipe his memory and all that, he would have been just dead weight anyways. So I understand that, but I also don't like how the characters were like, oh, we gotta wipe his brain, and instead of giving that towards the more heavy, like, oh, the C-3PO we've known for all these years is just gone, you know, like, he's wiped. They just played it off as a joke with that one eating. He was like, he good. You know?
Babu Frick.
Yeah, Babu Freak. So I was kind of mad that they also took, like, the comedical direction with that.
Comical?
Or comic, I don't know what word.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Where
okay.
it played off as a joke, like, hi, I'm C-3PO or whatever. That's something I didn't like. And something personal I would have wanted, and I think everyone's going to hate me for this, is for Rey to have killed Kylo Ren in the Death Star. Like, when she
did.
stabs him.
Well, she technically did, and that whole thing of like, oh, she killed him, and then
But
when
then,
she
like,
healed
yeah,
him, he came back as Ben Solo.
I don't like that she healed him. Because if Kylo Ren would have just stayed there dead, that would have made Rey freak out like, oh my god, I'm giving into the hate, I just found out Palpatine, I just killed Kylo Ren, what am I doing? That would have given her more like internal conflict.
Yeah.
Which I thought that would have been amazing, but understand you can't just kill off a character like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, but then you would have also had those same people that are hating the movie. You'd be giving them more reason, like, well, she can heal people with the Force.
I wouldn't have had that first scene where she heals like the snake thingy.
The sandworm or whatever.
Yeah, the sandworm, whatever it's called. I wouldn't have had that.
Well, they had that in order to show how, like, oh, you can heal.
Totally.
You know?
I think that's about it for me. Those were like my really big main problems. Oh, I didn't like... I'm really bad with names. That one girl that posed with, but not really. She had like the helmet on the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't like...
Oh, it's Carrie Russell, but I don't know her
Yeah.
actual name.
why was
I don't know
she-
her name in the movie.
Why was she there? I mean, of course she provided a little bit of background on Poe, but not too much, where it's like... You can't say you learned a lot about Poe because of her. She was just there for...
You can't complain about those things, though, because they're always introducing new characters in Star Wars. Episode 3, they introduced Tarful.
Yeah,
but-
episode 2, they introduced that Dex.
Yeah,
Well,
they
he's
didn't
in-
go.
Dex is cool.
They don't go they don't go anywhere.
Yeah,
They're
they're just there. You know?
Also, I think it takes away the specialness from Finn if other people also walked away from the First Order.
I do agree with that.
Because, you know, it's like, oh my god, Finn used to be an X. Is it Stormtrooper or First Order? I don't know what they call them.
They're still
They're
stormtroopers.
Yeah.
Okay. He was an ex-Stormtrooper, but then he made the choice not to shoot that one.
The
whole
village.
thing, the village. So then that was a cool thing. Like, wow, he's a rogue Stormtrooper. We've never heard of this. And this
Yeah.
girl's like, hey, you're not special. There's a lot of us.
No, I think it added
So-
more to, like, there are people out there who don't agree with it because, of course, they even say how, like, they kidnapped these kids, trained them to become, like, these killing machines, and then they're just another stormtrooper. They're, like, another extra.
Yeah,
and
but-
here you have people who say, like, they grow up
Mm-hmm.
and they don't agree with the First Order, so they leave, and that's pretty much the only option they have.
Yeah, but Finn was courageous enough. Because I'm
He
pretty
wasn't,
sure
and
all
that
the
seemed
other-
that felt more like fear. Like he was just scared. Like, oh, I have to kill people. I didn't want to do that. And, like, I want to leave. Like, I just want to get out of here. Like, that's his whole thing throughout the entire first in the Force Awakens.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they go to that Maz Kanata, the bar that she has and everything. He's like, I want to leave. Hey, how much to leave? I gotta go. Ray, you gonna come with me? No. All right. Well, I'm still leaving. Like, he always just wants to get away from it because he was scared. And I think in the second one, that's when he was like, I'm not gonna run away. I'm gonna be courageous. And
When
everything.
we all do something courageous, we all feel high and mighty when we first do, but afterwards you're like, oh my god, what did I do? What did I do?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's about it for me. Again, I did really like the film.
Yeah.
So, those were my final thoughts.
Okay, Steven?
All right, my final thoughts here. I mean, I really liked the movie. I didn't have any problems with it. I liked where they went with it. With what you said about C-3PO, I gotta agree. I never really cared for him. I always saw him as just a comedic, plot character. It's just like all he's there is just to be the comic relief from the prequels and the originals. He was just doing comic relief, and so when he starts saying like, "Oh, my friends" and everything like that, that to me, I didn't really feel like crying or anything. I was like, no one likes you.
But
So
I remember watching the trailer and being like, oh my god, in the movie that's gonna be like a very intense scene, like it's gonna make your heart drop.
I didn't. I liked the fact that they even do like a final joke with him, like right before they completely wipe his memory. He's like, "Wait, we could try something else," and then just wipe his memory either way.
Well, I mean,
that was great.
I do kind of agree with David in the sense where that they could have had the opportunity to make a really heavy emotional scene. Like they could have kept they could have continued it with the joke, but when he arrived to the base, is it on Yavin, the rebel base, resistance base, when he saw R2, they could have made that more emotional.
Oh, I agree.
Have
with
R2
that.
freak out a little, like.
Well, he kind of did.
He kind of did, but it looked more funny than.
It's just that you don't understand what R2D2 is saying. All he's doing is beeps.
Yeah, so I feel they could have used more of his robot body language.
Well, he kind of was like shaking,
Yeah.
like hey, you don't remember me.
So.
But all right, well, but still, I still need to keep going. I like that they brought back Wedge. That was pretty cool. I was like very like, whoa, hey, he's still there. Like he's not forgotten
After all this time.
Yeah, like he's still fighting. You know what I mean? So it's like you still have some of the people from like the original trilogy that are still very much alive and still trying to fight. They know what they're going for. I didn't mind this movie at all. I didn't mind the flaws of it. I mean, they're there, but at the same time, I was kind of like, you kind of need that. All these movies have flaws. No film is perfect. Especially a Star Wars film. None of them are perfect in my opinion. I know some people might not agree with that. But I feel like that's the problem that most of these fans have, is that they view these films as perfect. So, but if you rewatch them, you'll realize how like I remember thinking Yoda, like, oh, he's amazing. And when I rewatched Empire Strikes Back since I saw that movie when I was like 7, and I didn't watch it again until I was like 24. And when I watched it again, I was like, wait a minute, why is Yoda a comedy character? Like, I thought he was supposed to be this cool. So you do realize how like none of these characters are what you think they are, but when you rewatch them, you kind of realize, wow, there's actually good things about them that I like, but I mean, the fans are always going to be, terrible people in my opinion. I mean, to the point where they harass people to the point of suicide, or they leave, like Ahmed Best, who portrayed Jar Jar Binks, and to the point where he said like he got nothing but hate, that he was thinking of killing himself. Or Rose, Kelly Marie Tran, that she got bullied a lot because of a character she played by these fans who were saying you ruined Star Wars and everything. It's like they can't accept that a movie can be different than what they like or what they're used to. That's why I'm like, I don't agree with what they say. I think that if you continue doing that, you're never going to be happy. So to me, this movie gets a 7 out of 10. I really do like it. I would say it's probably like third place from this new trilogy, But first place for me is The Last Jedi. Second place, Force Awakens. Third place, Rise of Skywalker. But I think it did a great job setting everything up and closing everything, especially with Rey. And I thought it was just amazing throughout the whole movie. I was just not bored. I loved it. So yeah,
it's kind of ironic that people hate this movie because they feel Disney gave them what they want, but it's not what they wanted. If that makes any sense.
It does make sense. It's like, I mean,
Well, I'm gonna transition into my final thoughts. I agree with almost everything that you guys are saying. Actually, most of everything, not almost, most 99% of it. I also enjoyed this movie. I loved everything about it. Not everything about. There are some things I still have mixed feelings about, but I don't let that decide if it's a bad movie or not. It's a great movie. You guys should go watch it. As for all the fans, I mean, for the people who are hating, I wouldn't listen to the hate about this movie. Like Steven was saying, you really need to go form your own opinion about it, because the Star Wars fandom right now is very indecisive.
Yeah, it was. Well, I mean, it seems like they decided that these movies are terrible.
Yeah.
And
so if you go into this movie looking for things to pick on, of course you're gonna, not enjoy it. But if you go in with an open mind and just remember what Star Wars is supposed to be, what it's supposed to do, I feel that you'll enjoy it. I enjoyed it. There are a couple things I would have changed, but at that point, I think that would be straight up fan service. Like, for example, one of the things I was sharing earlier with David off recording was instead of Rey hearing voices, I would have loved it if she, like in Infinity War when Thanos snaps and he's in the Soul Stone.
Spoilers for Infinity War.
When something similar, but instead Rey is in the middle of the Jedi Council and she sees the Jedi sitting around her in their chairs and they're talking
that was
to
the
her.
original plan too. It's just that
no, that would not have worked. That would just look silly.
I thought it would have been cool.
No, because how many Jedi were there? Are they going to bring every? No, there were more
the
than
main
12.
the main 12. I mean, the ones from the Jedi Council.
But they even had like Ahsoka also having the voice on there too. And
That's
she
true.
was never there.
you would have
Only
had to
in the Clone
sacrifice
Wars.
some of the voices you heard in order to have the Jedi Council thing for Stephen.
That's why I don't think it worked. I think it's better, like kind of like how, throughout all these movies, it's always like Obi-Wan, talking to Luke. You always hear the voices, so I think it would have been better. I'm glad that they stuck with only voices and not show you anything.
Another thing I would have changed is I would have given Palpatine a lightsaber because I would have loved to see a duel between him, Ben, and Rey.
I thought that was the route it was going when Luke gave
It didn't even
two lightsabers. I was like, oh, Palpatine's gonna steal one, and then like that's gonna be a whole thing. But then I saw Ben enter, I'm like, oh, well, that's out the window.
No, I liked the Ben joining the fight.
We
That was
had
cool.
like one good shot of Rey and Kylo igniting their lightsabers. But then
Which would have been
quickly-
awesome if it led into a. It didn't even have to be a long one, just a small duel
short thing.
with Palpatine and them. Yeah.
And Palpatine's
No,
like,
that would not have worked.
Well, we're wrapping things up, so maybe that could be another discussion for a different episode. But yeah, overall, I think the general consensus here is 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So
Do with that what you want.
do with that what you want, but go watch it. Anyway, so thank you for listening. If you're still listening, we understand that we go off on tangents a lot, but we are going to, from now on, title this A Conversation About, and then the topic that we'll be talking about. Mm-hmm. So thank you for listening. This has been the Movie Buffs team, signing off for the Movie Buffs podcast. Thank you. See you next time.
See ya.
Later.